You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? It is your girl, your diva in knowledge, Lady Mocha, representing Mocha's Ladies Lounge. Hope everybody's doing good. Again, I got a lot of catching up that I have to do. Make sure as soon as you enter, please hit that like button for me. I really appreciate that. Big ups to Mocha's Mod Squad. Any of my moderators that are in the building during this recording, I gladly appreciate your presence. Again, big ups to my members that are still tithing $3 every month. I appreciate y'all so much. And those of y'all that are viewing my content for the very first time, I appreciate you, welcome you here, and hopefully you join and become a part of the family. And it costs nothing to show support. So make sure y'all please hit that like button. So let me get into this, right? Because it's been long overdue. And as y'all already know, we got all of these allegations surrounding Jay-Z. And we have to say allegations because he is currently innocent until proven guilty. But based off of the information that has been floating around, it seems like to me he's going to be guilty until proven innocent, okay? Because we know how the industry works, right? The industry, once they get allegations, it pretty much, the ball rolls downhill from here, okay? So until he is cleared, until it is verbalized, until it is proven that he has not done any of the things that he's being accused of, it's not a good look right now for his brand. You feel me? So all of this, well, nobody can't prove nothing. Nobody hasn't proven anything. There's been no real receipts. You know, the problem is this. Once you're a brand, any type of negative publicity surrounding you, nobody's not going to take that chance again until you are cleared. And that is the problem. Ever since this accusation with Jay-Z, you know, allegedly raping this 13-year-old who came to the VMAs, and I get what everybody's saying, hey, where was her parents? You know, every time these allegations come out about a child, the first question that comes to everybody's mind is, where were the parents? This is the problem, okay? Even the best parents don't have 100% control over their children. Now, there's been some instances in which parents could have took better matters into their hands as parents. But let's face it, when I was 13, 14 years old, I snuck out. I did things to this day that my parents absolutely have no clue about. I was with places in environments in which there was people 20 times my age that I had no business being. And I think the majority of women who want to keep it real, all of us young women have snuck into clubs, not been ID'd, you feel me, have gone to concerts, not been ID'd, you know, have gone to events in which there were men twice your age and women twice your age, the crowd twice your age, and you still was able to grant access. That's part of being a teenager. We're going to rebel, we're going to be sneaky, you know, we're going to test the waters. And for all of us to act like we've never done that, we didn't sneak to concerts, we didn't sneak to the clubs, we didn't talk to dudes older than us, being young, dumb, immature, going by what a ninja driving, going by how a ninja flashing money. When you young and dumb and immature and you don't know the game, you will easily be manipulated. You will easily be played. I cannot speak for all young women, but during my duration of my youth, when I was out in these places congregating and fellowshipping amongst men that were older than me, my pops didn't know that. You feel me? He was a hard-working man, and he was always very attentive. But when there's a will, there's a way. All teenagers, we all have snuck out and did things we shouldn't have did, right? So when I would congregate in these places, of course, I would have older dudes checking for me. If I had to put a dime in my pocket for every older man that tried to test me, that tried to get me in bed, I would be rich by now. I have gone through this since I was 13, 14 because, like a lot of young women, when you're overly developed, you know, you start getting ass and tits before your brain fully develops. These older dudes aren't looking at your brain. They're looking at your physical attributes. And that is the reason why a lot of these older dudes get themselves in a lot of mess, because men are visual by nature. Let's be honest. They're not going to ask for your ID, okay? I say I probably have one older man who asked me my age. The other 30, 40, they could care less. All they saw was my physique. All they saw was my C cups. You know what I mean? And they did. Let's just keep it a buck. These men do not care about ages. All that. Well, the parents should have been there. The parents need to be sued. The parents need to get arrested. You name how many things you did and your parents don't know to this day. Let's not be phony. Let's not, be hypocritical and act like you wasn't places you should not have been. And for you older dudes, you know these young women don't be knowing the game like you know it. You know female is young. I don't care how good she looks physically, how older she looks physically. You could tell within 5 minutes of conversation that you're talking to a little girl. Okay? You already know. Especially if you're on the level of Jay-Z and you're an older street dude, you from the streets, you from the projects, you already know when you're dealing with a female that's emotionally underdeveloped. But let's get into this, right? Talking about why underage girls have always been industry prey to older men. So I'm taking a different spin on this. A lot of people talking about Jay-Z and all of these allegations. I'm going to touch a little bit on it, but not a whole lot, because that's not my jurisdiction. You know what I mean? I don't know a whole lot about the man to really go in on him, but I am going to be addressing some things, but from a different aspect as to how these younger females get played and become prey to these industry men. So it's always been a young woman's fantasy to be with a star, to be with the hottest rapper. When you were young and you dumb and you naive, you build an infatuation for a celebrity, especially if, he's in a genre in which you have admiration. Most young women are and have always been attracted to rappers. You have young women who will basically take any means to get up with a rapper, even if he's not that attractive. Just the fact that he's a rapper. Look at Lil Wayne, for instance. Look how many baby mamas he got out here. And we know no disrespect to Lil Wayne, but we know he is not that appealing. But just the fact that he's a rapper. A lot of these rappers are not that eye-catching. And yet, they got a lot of women checking for them, right? Not only rappers, even athletes that are not that attractive. The average guy that a female would not want if she saw him at a bus stop or if she saw him mopping the floor in Popeyes. But as long as he's a rapper, as long as he's an actor, as long as he has some type of stardom or celebrity status, a woman will make herself like that dude, okay? Because of what he has and who he is. You know what I'm saying? So, we got to go back to the early 90s, alright? You go back to the time in hip-hop When you're talking about Nas, you're talking about Wu-Tang, you're talking about Jay-Z, you're talking about Beanie Siegel, Biggie Smalls, Pac, you know what I mean? That's the era we from, right? My late 70s and early 80s and early 90s babies. If y'all can remember what the club scenes was like, right? We did not have cell phones, you feel me? We ain't had cell phones. We didn't have, if you did have a cell phone, you had to really be like making some bread. I think like cell phones became the end thing like the late 90s going into the 2000s, but originally people who had cell phones was rich, or they had car phones, right, where you can call from your car and stuff like that. But basically the 90s, the late 80s, early 90s was very simple. All the man had to have was some money, a nice car, and basically can dress his ass off. And that was enough to the mind of a 13, 14-year-old female that would make her believe that this guy, there was something special or magnificent about this dude. So you look at your boy Jay-Z. Although he has all this controversy surrounding him, Jay-Z was the man back in the days. Okay, he was a phenomenal rapper, always featured on the latest hits. You got to give credit to where it's due. The man, he's very gifted in his lyrics and how he flows, and he had a lot of female artists checking for him. The bigger he became, the more he elevated. It had nothing to do with his looks. These young women was checking Jay-Z because he was Jay-Z. They didn't care nothing about him being Sean Carter. They didn't care that he was from Mercer Projects. You know what I mean? They didn't care that he was a drug dealer back in the day, that he came from poverty, that he was raised from a single mom. They didn't care about none of that. All that mattered to the minds of these young women was Jay-Z was Jay-Z. One of the hardest rappers during that era. So because of that, Jay-Z had an advantage in getting women to like him, to notice him. And again, it's not because of his looks. It was because of Jay-Z being Jay-Z the rapper. Because we all know, if Jay-Z was working at Popeyes or collecting tickets at Amtrak train station, or if he was a janitor at a high school or a gymnasium, we all know no woman would be checking for him like that. I mean, he'd probably be the average dude that would probably have had a woman the same woman who probably done been with him during the struggle, and probably have a child or two and live in an apartment complex. Somebody would have gave him some play, right? But we know, had it not been for his stardom or his celebrity status, he would not have had as much opportunities as he has now. But keep this in mind. Y'all got to realize, Jay-Z is a Sagittarius, right? Sagittarius men are very free-spirited. They're very independent, all right? They are very relentless and determined. They don't stop at nothing until they get what they want. They love to conquer once they have their mindset on a specific goal, whether that goal be a career or a woman or some type of accomplishment. They will stop at nothing until they get what they want. They very determined individuals. Not to mention, Sagittarius men are very, very confident. Extremely confident. Jay-Z has always been that very confident dude. And if he ever did have any insecurities, what he would do, instead of showing it, he would just strive even harder to prove that he's built for whatever it is he's trying to accomplish. In other words, Jay-Z has never been one to let nobody shuffle his deck. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to catch him like bent out of shape. He's always been cool, calm, collective, kept his composure, and a lot of that comes from being from the streets. You feel me? Because in the streets, you are up against a lot. You are up against a lot of war zones, because being a dope boy back in the day, not only you had to watch your back from the police, you also had to watch your back from haters, dudes who would rob drug boys. You know what I mean? You face a lot of obstacles when you're in that life, right? So once Jay-Z was blessed with the opportunity of becoming a rapper, where he no longer had to resort to that street life, he took a lot of that street knowledge with him into the industry and used it to his advantage. That's how he was able to conquer women. That's how he was able to build friendships with guys like Dame Dash and Diddy, build all of this trust, all of these bonds. Because in the streets, you're taught to be loyal. Especially, you're taught to be loyal to people who can actually put you on and open doors for you. LL Cool J. Jay-Z knew how to play the part until he got where he needed to be. Okay? And this is the reason why he has become successful to this day, right? So, back then when Jay-Z first got into the industry and was producing all these banging and slamming hits under Roc Nation, he built his popularities, and that's when the women, and let's face it, he wasn't getting as many women during his dope boy era as he was during his rapper era, okay? Because see, now, you know, you got the glitz, the glamour, the popularity. Your name, Jay-Z's name alone, carried a lot of weight. A lot of young women not caring and not understanding that they're putting an older man's freedom and life at stake in the event. She decides to talk to him or be engaged with him. You don't think about that when you're young. You think about, listen, the majority of the women Jay-Z have dealt with is women who always wanted to be a part of that life. There's not too many 13, 14, 15-year-old women, females, who would not want to be with a rapper. Okay, and the problem is you have a lot of these older men, just like today, back then, who capitalize off of young women. This has been going on for centuries. Okay, while we're acting like all of the R. Kellys is new, all of the Diddy's is new, you've had older men always preying off of younger women, preying off the vulnerability of young women, you know, because it's always been natural for young women to have a crush on older guys, rather if it was an actor, rather if you had a crush on Denzel Washington, a crush on John Travolta, a crush on Leonardo DiCaprio. You know, let's face it, all young women always have had crushes, but the problem is once these men start making money and they start getting the position, they capitalize off of the emotions and the desires of young women. That's what Jay-Z did. So once Jay-Z got into the celebrity world and became Jay-Z and sold all these platinum records, he's doing all these tours, all these shows, amongst that, he started pretty much running into and encountering a lot of these young female artists like Aaliyah, like Foxy Brown, like Camille. And what ended up happening was Jay-Z had the advantage of collaborating, because that's what the industry is about. The industry is about networking, okay? And the best way to elevate is to network with whoever is the hottest artist at the time. You could be good all you want by yourself, but unless you are featured on an album with someone that already is well ingrained into the game, like Jay-Z, and already got platinum records of platinum, you're not really going to get far. And Jay-Z knew this. Jay-Z knew he was the Mr. Hot Shit during that time, and he really was. The man had a lot of phenomenal albums. I for one was a fan. You know what I mean? So he had a lot of fans checking for him. But the biggest thing was he had a lot of female fans checking for him, and these fans ended up becoming artists who ended up collaborating with Jay-Z. So when you look at these females like Foxy Brown and Beyonce and Aaliyah, when you go to these after parties, you go to these events, because in the industry, they make you grow up very fast. So if you was a 13, 14, 15-year-old single, overnight, you're going to become 18, 19, 20. Okay? Because you're constantly around these older people. Okay? Who been in the industry longer than you. And that's what ended up happening. So you got these young women who are on the scene at these social gatherings, and who do they run into? They run into men like Jay-Z. First thing that comes to your mind, OMG, Jay-Z the rapper, he's here live in the flesh. Wow, this is my moment. So you are ecstatic, you are excited. Think about this from the mind of a 13, 14-year-old female who wants to get put on as an artist. And the fact that you're at the social gathering and you are in the company of Jay-Z, who approaches you. This 6'2", well-dressed, popular, well-known, famous rapper who approaches you and makes a move on you. What's up, shorty? How you doing? Blah, 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 this, and that. So just the fact that he's even noticing you and paying attention to you, out of all the women in the room, is already within itself a moment. You feel me? So you have this older successful rapper who approaches you, talking to you, courting you, seems to show interest in you, asking your name, asking where you're from, what you do, what kind of music you into, and then it's like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, all of the women in this room, and he decided to approach me. What is it about me? This dude is checking for me. So the fact that a man of Jay-Z's status is even approaching you, that's enough to make any woman lose all her sensibility. Now again, we're not talking about the married Jay-Z now. We're talking about the Jay-Z during the late 80s, during the early 90s. So he exchanges numbers and tells you, hey, I think you have talent. I think that, me and you can get together and we can collaborate. And, I would really love to work with you. And we do a couple of studio sessions, and I want to kind of see where your skills are, so I would know how to perfect them and craft them, and I really want to help you to expand your talent. What young female would not go for that? For all these young girls, let me tell you something, that is what these older dudes know that. And young women have always went after men for the wrong reasons, and that's again because when you lack immaturity, you lack experience, you will go after artificial gain. You can easily be manipulated. So that's what Jay-Z did. Jay-Z had women like Foxy Brown, who people want to act like wasn't 15 at the time. She was involved with Jay in the industry. Okay, Aaliyah, granted, was I think Aaliyah was 18, 19, but Jay was damn near in his 30s. Okay? And we know about Beyonce, and of course, they made sure they slid her age under the rug. For many years, we kept hearing Beyonce's age change multiple times. And the narrative that Jay-Z tried to, in his, I guess, his stands tried to promote was that, to really get to the main direct point, right? Even if you never lived in the projects, even if you were never born or raised in the projects, anybody from the projects, can pretty much tell you that that type of environment, most dope boys back then, because y'all have to look at the old Jay-Z compared to the new Jay-Z. Let me show you the old Jay-Z, okay? You have to remember the old Jay-Z in his teens, or early 20s, right? Before he became the 50, I think what he's 50, 53, 54-year-old Jay-Z, the entrepreneur, the empire, successful man that we know today. He was not always that man. He was not the millionaire entrepreneur married to Beyonce. Don't be so focused on the now. I want all of you to kind of focus on Jay-Z back in the day. We'll say like the early 90s to try to just keep things simple, right? The Jay-Z from the 90s was a dope boy in the projects, okay? Dope boy in the projects. Anybody who's been born and raised in the projects can tell you, and y'all are free to, comment on that in the chat. Most dope boys back in the day in the projects messed with young girls, okay? We're not, again, all of this is alleged, and we're not talking about the current millionaire Jay-Z. We're talking about the 19-year-old young man, grown man, which was young but still old enough to know right from wrong, okay? Old enough to understand that a child is a child. Now, getting back to these dope boys in the projects, realize growing up in the projects, men that were raised in that environment did not really court women correctly. There was rarely any dates. There was rarely any taking a woman out. If you did take her out, you would probably take up the street, to get her Nathan's hot dog or something like that from Coney Island. But most of the time, dope boys in the projects just smashed multiple females. Why? Because they had money, they had jewelry, they had swag. All the project girls back then wanted to be with a dope boy. The dope boy was like the in thing, okay? And unless you were raised in that environment, it's easy to judge, be judgmental, and look down on females that looked up to dope boys. Dope boys back then was the in thing, okay? If you watch the movie Paid in Full, which is one of the best phenomenal gangster movies with Alpo and AZ, the three drug dealers back in the day. If you watch that movie, it'll help you to get a better visual of what I mean by back then. Dope boys was the thing for project chicks, okay? Because dope boys had bread, they had money, they was able to spend money, take you out, give you nice things, give you a lifestyle, okay? Especially for young girls who were in poverty, These dope boys wore nice jewelry, drove nice cars, and keep in mind the environment you're in as a young female. You're not going to meet lawyers, you're not going to meet doctors, you're not going to meet college boys. So the next best thing was these dope boys, right? Corner boys, as they would call it, drug dealers, whatever, right? And back then, I'm quite certain Jay-Z was smashing a lot of project chicks. And let's just keep it a buck. Y'all know good damn well in that environment, age was never a factor. You had project girls getting their cheeks clapped at 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. If y'all remember the Netflix movie called Roxanne, Roxanne did a movie surrounding her story. Roxanne was not even 17 at the time. And who was the first dude to smash her in the movie? Because remember, Roxanne was born and raised in the projects. You get what I'm saying? Even Roxanne would tell you, right? If you watch her movie, the first guy that got her virginity, being born and raised in the projects, was a dope dealer, a drug boy, okay, who inevitably, eventually became the father of her child, okay? That was depicted in the movie, okay? So anybody from the projects know most young females dated drug boys, dope boys. No one can convince me that Jay-Z at 18, 19 years old was not smashing underage girls, because that's what most dope boys were known to do. It's always been known that dope boys would always smash young girls, underage girls. They rarely dealt with females their age, because females their age are hip to the game, the expectations are higher, and the demands will be more higher. As for a younger project chick who came from poverty, who's already not used to much, right? Who's already young, inexperienced, don't know the difference between a dope boy giving you $100 versus giving you $100,000, okay? If a dope boy just took a young project girl out for a hot dog and bought her a Gucci pocketbook, back then it was probably what, $50, to her it meant the world. That's what guys like Jay-Z did back then, during that dope boy era, you know, and living in the projects. That is what they did. They smashed multiple underage females, because in that kind of environment, everybody is close knit in these high-rise apartments. Dope boys back then couldn't pull top-notch women. There was no Jennifer Lopez's. There was no, you know, Janet Jackson's or whatever. You know what I mean? What I'm saying, there was no high prestige, high class, top tier tens. Okay, so these dope boys in the projects during the 90s and Jay-Z's era, like any other man, they had needs that had to be fulfilled. At that age, all they're thinking about is just smashing and you know, profiling, styling, pushing nice whips, wearing the latest outfits, wearing the newest kicks, jewelry down. That's what it was all about in the projects. You know, stunting, flexing, and smashing multiple chicks. Most of the time, they smashed underage girls who didn't know no better. They was able to take these girls, these young girls, smash them in a little project housing, or bring these girls to their house when their mamas was single mothers, was never home, working and providing, and banging these young girls on their mama's sofa, while mama, single mama, was struggling, you know, trying to make ends meet, work 2-3 jobs. You got to realize, right? Jay-Z was raised by a single mom. And I'm sure his mom had to sacrifice a lot, had to work hard, had to grind hard in order for Jay-Z to have things that he had. So moms was probably never home. Jay-Z most likely unemployed, selling drugs, walking around projects all day. That is what they do. They smash these project chicks, these underage girls who don't know no better. So, I know y'all wonder where am I going with that. To make you understand that Jay-Z has a past. We cannot give so much praise and worship service because of the man he is today. That there's a lot of dirt because we all got a past. Okay? But where it gets sketchy is when here it is, you're in your 50s and you have built this empire and your name is no longer a name, it's a brand, it's a legacy. There's way more at stake now to lose than there was then. Now, I would say that Jay-Z probably had no idea he was going to become this successful, okay? Looking at the Jay-Z back then to now, I'm sure there's even moments in his mind in which he is astonished at how far he has become. But the problem is, now that these allegations have come out with this 13-year-old and all of it is alleged, Jay-Z is innocent until proven guilty. This is a very detrimental, critical stage in his life. Let me get out this pic right quick. Because now, unlike back then, the 19-year-old Jay-Z that grew up in the projects, the 53-year-old Jay-Z now, he stands way more to lose. Why? Because he's a brand. He's married to another brand. And he has a family. He has people that are depending on him. People who have been on his payroll for years, like his mother, probably his siblings or whatever. He has accomplished way too much to lose everything at this point. And I know a lot of y'all are saying, okay, this was years ago. What does this have to do with the Jay-Z today? The problem is we are in a society in which your past can be used against you and destroy your future. These are the times we in. Thanks to social media, thanks to the way the laws are orchestrated with child abuse, in which there's no sexual assaults or whatever, or raping. There's no statute of limitations, meaning that if you committed this type of offense when you was 15 years old, and here it is, your victim is now 25 and you're in your 60s, your victim can now report you. In other words, there's no time frame on when a victim can report her abuser. So the bad part in this is that I'm sure Jay-Z now is that changed man. I'm sure he's no longer that 19-year-old that was wilding out, dope boy in the projects, smashing all types of underage females. Because let's face it, a lot of young men at that age, they don't think about consequences. They don't care about impregnating multiple females. They don't even thinking about diseases and STDs. It's all about getting it in, because at that age in your prime, you're selfish, and it's more so about your hormones than it is about your health and your well-being. So Jay-Z at that age, 18, 19, he's not thinking at that time like he should be thinking today. And the problem is, Jay-Z knows that he was a wild boy back in the day. That's why he is so calm and easygoing and laid back and mellow, because see, Jay-Z already did a lot. He's seen a lot. He's from the streets, and in the streets, right, you're taught that you have to move like a soldier. You have to be smooth, calculated, but you also have to keep your composure. So the reason Jay-Z can keep his composure no matter how much pressure is applied, because you have to realize Jay-Z came from the streets. In the streets, it's mandatory that you don't show no emotion. You don't make your opponents or your ops think that you are threatened, that you're feeling some type of way, or whatever the case is. But the fact that Jay-Z has responded to the allegations is showing that for once he got shook. Because the Jay-Z we've always known him to be, he's never responded to anything. The Jay-Z we know, have grown to know, usually lets his lawyers, lets his publicists, the fact that he responded and in the manner and how he responded, it shows that he's more shook now than he's ever been. And this goes to show, it don't matter how strong of a person you are, no matter how smart of a person you are, no matter how strong, anybody can always get shook at any given moment. Okay? So no one is not so bad that they can be untouched, that they cannot be made to feel some type of way, because unlike a young Jay-Z, the older, mature, wise, married to a millionaire Jay-Z understands that I don't need this right now. This is the last thing I need. I have built too much to get to where I am. And he knows that his whole family is going to be affected if these allegations come out to be true. And even more so, if this comes out to be true, that Ramir is his son. Because if it proves that Ramir is his son, that means it's going to validate that during his youth, as a man, as a young man that was also considered adult, meaning if he's proven to be the father of Ramir, it would validate that he was a 19-year-old man that had sexual relations with a 16-year-old girl whom was a minor. And the fact that a lot of people don't think it's probable, just based off of what I told you, it's a high probability, because you got to remember, Jay-Z was from the projects. That's how drug dealers moved back in the day, right? That's how dope boys moved back in the day. They didn't care about age, long as a female, was built like a woman, and she seemed that she was eager, just as eager to give it up as he was to take it. That is what they did back then. A lot of project girls can tell you, most of them who got kids are from older guys, from older dope boys back in the day. Very few lost their virginity to guys their age. It was always the older drug dealer boys, right? And see, what's going on is that this young man who's alleging to be his son, because his mother, who unfortunately passed away from a medical issue, made it very clear to him before she left that it is a probability, based off of her words, Miss Satterthwaite, that Jay-Z is his father, because there was only two guys, and the other guy was already tested, and he was discovered to not be the father, which only leaves Jay-Z. Now again, this is all alleged. There's very strong features. Keep in mind, there are going to be some differences in features, because he does have some of his mother's features, okay? However, there are a lot of similarities with the nose, with the mouth, unless the mother has a type, because you do have some of these women who will go on Maury Povich, and the child will look so similar to the father, only to find out the father was not the child, right? However, Jay-Z is dodging this test. He does not want to take a paternity test, but because of all these other cases that have been thrown at him, these allegations, now the feds are requiring him to take a paternity test. So it took all of this other stuff to come out, in order for the feds to get involved and enforce for Jay-Z to take this paternity test, allegedly, right? Now, or before, 𝓜𝓸𝓬𝓱𝓪 had been pushing for years and years and years and years and years for Jay-Z to take a paternity test. And as always, Jay-Z has been dodging bullets, not taking this test. And it could be for a couple of reasons. For one, if he were to agree to take this test and it were to be discovered that 𝓜𝓸𝓬𝓱𝓪 is his son, this is going to prove that the young Jay-Z, dope boy, born and raised in the projects back in the day, 18 years old, still a child, but a man that's old enough to know better, it will prove that he was a pedophile who took advantage of a 16-year-old. Now, granted, this happened years ago, right? It shouldn't even matter, because why? Jay-Z is an entrepreneur. He's married to Beyonce. He has a family now. Why would this be a big deal now? Because these are the times we are in, okay? All right, no different than Diddy's tape. That assault with him and Cassie been happened years ago. But guess what? Even though he's not getting charged for it and he's not getting penalized for it, the problem is just the fact that we saw that tape. It tarnished his brand and his reputation. And Jay-Z, you got to realize he's from the streets. He's smart. He knows better. He knows that if this were to come out, it's going to tarnish everything he built. Jay-Z has a lot at stake, and he knows it. I also wanted to mention that this recent allegation definitely has Jay-Z shook. And even though he's trying to keep his composure, it comes a point where even the strongest soldiers, fall short. And slowly but surely, he's unraveling. I won't say unraveling in a very obvious way, but you can tell Jay-Z is feeling totally out of his element, because he has gone so long, right, being a clean-cut guy, never having, any type of, scandals, with his name surrounding it. This has to be very difficult for him, because Jay-Z has always had a very clean slate for the most part. Any, controversy surrounding him has never been to this extent. And these are some heavy allegations, because this involves children. This involves paternity at question as well. And I totally believe that Jay-Z did not prepare to get this far in the game for this amount of controversy to be attached to his legacy that he took so many years to build, right? But anyway, just to kind of give y'all a little bit more of a reflection on this whole situation, I did look into some other sources of other people, other social media sources, who are also noticing Jay-Z being out of his element. Now, this particular news clip that I'm getting ready to show you all is showing that there's this, I don't know what you call them, but it's a specific name for people who are professionals at studying your body language. And that is what this lady, this woman in this clip is going to be doing. She's going to be giving her own professional intake on Jay-Z's body language during his presence at his daughter's Disney premiere, Mufasa, whatever the hell you call it. But anyway, I thought it was interesting that this woman was able to read Jay-Z's body language, and if you really kind of study it, it does pretty much measure up to what the woman is saying, right? But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and play it, and then we're just going to kind of reiterate on it from there. So let's just go ahead and get to ground news.
Okay, so this brings us now to Monday, and this is just hours after that court filing. Keep that in mind. Jay-Z was on the red carpet in Los Angeles with his family. Very, very public place. Photographers everywhere. The media, the world watching him after all this. So they were there for the premiere of Disney's Mufasa. This is a Lion King prequel starring Jay-Z's wife, Beyonce, and daughter, Blue Ivy. And by the way, Beyonce's mother, Tina Knowles, was also photographed alongside this superstar family. Now, many have been analyzing these photos, trying to pinpoint how Jay-Z and his family are reacting in the wake of these awful allegations against him, while at the same time being in the public eye, right? So we thought, who can we bring in to talk about it? We know who we're going to bring in. We're going to bring in body language expert Susan Constantine to talk more about it. Susan, thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate you taking the time. All right, let's start with Jay-Z. So you have looked at still photographs of him. You have looked at the video of him on the red carpet. What stands out to you?
Well, there's a couple things that stand out to me. First of all, let's just kind of put it on record. This is all staged performance, okay? All of them are used to being in front of the limelight, so you have to actually consider the context. They're used to looking at the cameras. They're used to smiling, and when they don't feel like smiling, that's part of their whole persona. So when we look at when they are entering onto the red carpet, the camaraderie that all of them have. There was a person who was leading them, telling them where they should position them, which was putting them in alignment. When I was looking at the still photo, which I thought was really kind of interesting because I don't think this was planned for Jay-Z and for Beyonce and for Tina to be placed in the positions they were, which actually created some awkwardness because literally you could have taken this photograph, Jesse, cut it in half with Beyonce and her daughter, and then Jay-Z and Tina. It looks like two different frames because there's two different types of body language that's going on here. In a still photo, we have to consider the context, right? And as you stated before, this was just right before all of a sudden all of these allegations came out. So oftentimes what celebrities or anyone would do is they tend to overface, meaning like, I'm not going to let this bother me. I'm going to smile and giggle and smile at everyone and appear as if I am unfazed, right? So let's just think that's one hypothesis. The other thing is that we're looking at the position of the bodies, where they are in a line. If it seems a little awkward that Tina, as being kind of the strong person that's gluing the two together, would have been placed between them, not on the other side. So the fact that she's on the far right, and we're looking at their body language, you can see where Jay-Z and Tina are in rapport. You can see their right foot, look at it, right foot coming out at the same time. So that's rapport building. When you mirror someone's body language, they tend to be in rapport. Although Tina leans to the side, it's kind of like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. You know, she almost kind of looks like she's going to tip over. She has a very rigid stance when she's standing there. She's looking off to the side. She's obviously very consumed with people around her, the cameras and all of that kind of thing. That's why I say the stage, it's not fluid. It's not something that's natural. When I look at Jay-Z, you can see his lips pursed. That is a form of agitation. So when we look at that, when people purse or tighten their lips, it tells you a little bit about their cognitions, maybe that he's not really enjoying this as much as he's portraying when he was walking on. And what I'm looking for is a cluster. I see a horizontal stressor right across his forehead, and then he has his hand in his pocket. So we've got three things, which is a cluster. You would think that Jay-Z would have incorporated Beyonce into the mix by putting his arm around Beyonce's waist. We didn't see that here. So that's why I'm saying there's almost like a separation.
And a lot of people have been already speculating that there is a divorce that took place. I won't be surprised, because if that is the case, Beyonce and Jay-Z, they're going to hold it down. They're not going to let it be known, because to them, their brand is based off the image. And anybody who's been fans of Beyonce and Jay-Z for a long time know that image is everything to them. They worship image to the point to where they how can I say it? They value their image so much to where they are willing to suffer mentally and emotionally, as long as they can make their image look correct externally. So in other words, even though there may be a lot of trouble in the home front, and who's to say that they did not take an oath as husband and wife, saying, look, that even though we both know this marriage has come to an end, we have to maintain this image for the sake of our daughter, for the sake of our careers, our brands, everything we've invested. Because what Beyonce and Jay-Z both have in common, they both love to be on top. They both love to be winners by any means necessary. They refuse to ever let it be known that there is any discord, that there is any animosity. They refuse to let their ops or people who they feel don't want to see them at their best, they refuse to give people any type of inclination that there's trouble in paradise or trouble in the home front. But the fact that he has his hand in his pocket, standing directly next to his wife, that speaks volumes, okay? That really speaks volumes. And the fact that maybe the mother, Tina knows, and I know she knows because her and Beyonce very close. Tina know that there's trouble in paradise, but for the sake of her daughter and the sake of the brand, I'm sure Tina is probably doing everything she can in her power to keep the family steady, okay? Because you got to remember, Tina Knowles has experienced divorce herself, and she's aware of, you know, all of the heartbreak, all of the damaging it can do to their brand. So I really believe Tina Knowles is trying very hard to be the peacemaker between Jay-Z and her daughter Beyonce. Like, listen, we have to keep it together. We are a family. We have our grandchildren to think about. And Beyonce, and you can just tell, Blue Ivy is totally confused because she knows that what they're presenting to be is not what they really are in reality. She knows that. Children are smart, okay? It's no different if you spank a child, right? And y'all have to go out to a public place, and you tell that child, you better straighten your face up, you better look right. That child is going to try to put up that face, but because they're children, it's still going to be that part that's obvious and evident that something is wrong. You can look, and Blue Ivy knows that something is wrong. She knows because she's 12, and these new school kids, they are smart. If she's 12, that means she has the mind of a 18-year-old. If they're 5, that means they have the mind of a 12-year-old. Okay, these children are very advanced. She knows something is not right, and it's written all over her face. But mom and dad, because they are professional poker faces, and they've been in this business for a long time, and they've trained themselves to put on for the camera. They train themselves how to perform. They're trying to groom Blue Ivy into also knowing how to perform for the cameras. And because she's only 12 years old, she really cannot perform for the cameras. You can tell she's a little afraid. She's uncomfortable. She's only 12 years old. They got her looking like she's 19. This is a lot for her, okay? And anytime you have parents that's more focused on stardom and image than their well-being, this is what happens. Everybody has to play the damn part, and that's what's going on. Tina's playing the part, Blue Ivy's playing the part, and we know Beyonce's gonna always play the part. I mean, for one, when Solange put the part, when Solange, her sister, put the pause on Jay-Z, when they walked out that elevator, Solange and Jay-Z, you can tell they were still looking like, I can't believe that just went down. They showed their true expressions. Beyonce smiled. Beyonce is very robotic when it comes to smiling. That's all she knows how to do. It's just natural, no matter how bad something is, no matter how much pressure she's up under. It's natural for Beyonce to smile. She has groomed herself, she has raised herself and programmed herself into being robotic for the cameras and smiling.
two different frames. Beyonce, of course, alliances are with her daughter. You can see her leaning her head towards her daughter. Her daughter is out up front, is almost in a princess type of positioning. So overall, when I'm looking at this, the mannequin type of stance that Tina has, the agitation that Jay-Z is concealing. So what I mean by that, it's not an outward or expression. It's actually micro expressions of showing you what some of cognition might be. Now, what could the frustration be? Maybe it could be the way he was placed on that stage. Could be all the cameras in front of him. So you have to consider the context of what's going on. But I think to your question is, are they united or are they not? And at this point, based on the still photo and 2 seconds of video, it really doesn't show that, you know, we are all together as one big happy family, because it's a staged setting. And that's the part that seems inauthentic.
And to be clear, you know, if it had anything to do with the lawsuit, it would be understandable. I mean, whether or not he is liable or not for these allegations, to be hit with a lawsuit like this and accused of something like this, and I've mentioned this before in a prior sidebar, he knew this was coming based on the prior conversations he had with Tony Busby's firm. You know, it's understandable there would be a level of discomfort going on a public stage with all this going on. I mentioned the video. Was there anything from the video that changes your analysis? You see him in a different position than just standing there. Does it, something from the video support your conclusion in any which way?
It doesn't support the conclusion because I see this as performance, Jesse. I don't see this as being in authenticity, because he's not alone with his family. He's in front of a crowd. And when he's in front of a crowd, they're all performers. So I really want to put that on the table. He's used to smiling at everybody. He's used to being very charismatic and making over-facing and smiling in front of the camera. So when you look at that and go, okay, so is this performance or is this authentic? Is he happy about being there? It appears he is. It appears he's happy about being there. This is actually an exciting time for Beyonce and their daughter. So this is a joyous occasion. But on the other hand, you know, is it the body language of something that I would say, wow, this is authentic, fluid?
He seems very guarded. I don't see him really being very comfortable or casual. He just seems very, very guarded. It's like he knows so many. It's like he's being watched under a microscope. And this is totally a new element, because you got to realize Jay-Z has always been the clean cut guy, the guy that's always been able to kind of throw rocks and hide the hands. And this time, you know, he's not able to do that. So he's totally filling out of his element.
So look, even if he's completely innocent of this, I have to imagine that is not the place he wanted to be at that point.
I totally agree. Jay-Z was not feeling it. And I think this premiere was already planned, but what was not planned was the fact that all these allegations were going to come out prior to this event. And he is really filling out of his element.
At that point.
Yeah, and to your point, and that's what you're seeing. So those micro gestures, that the horizontal line, the pursed lips, that's a form of agitation. That is a masking expression. When you're trying to throw on a happy face and look natural, you're going to see stressors or strain in the face. It's there, and I know to look for it. And when you see that, you're going, okay, well, there's some cognition that's going on. There's an internal dialogue that's coming on that is leaking through some of these expressions that he's showing, and the over-facing. So the over-facing is when you overplay. When I think of overplaying, I think of Amber Heard, where she was really expressive and over-facing. Well, you also can do that with joy and happiness, like, you know, looking out into an audience and shaking their hand, and you've got the big wide smile and the big bright eyes. Well, guess what? Those are not all necessarily congruent. So when you're looking at the face and on a very micro level of 42 muscles in the face, and you're looking for congruency. I'm looking for those incongruencies that are telling me maybe there's a slightly different cognition that's going on, and that's what I see.
And basically, y'all, that was what I wanted y'all to kind of gain from that, is that Jay-Z definitely was not feeling like himself. Now, going back to his past, the young Jay-Z, the dope boy, like I said, the dope boy from back in the day, I would not be surprised if he does, for whatever reason, and again, this is all alleged, if he ends up being the father of 𝓜𝓸𝓬𝓱𝓪'𝓼, because again, back in that time, in that era, Jay-Z was young, and he already has a history too, not even just in his project in Dope Boy era. When he first got into the industry, he already has a history of being with younger females, like being with Foxy Brown, Aaliyah, and again, as I mentioned, with Beyonce, and even though they kept lying about her age, majority of everybody knew that Jay-Z had a thing for young women. This is him and Foxy. Now, keep in mind, the reason why, especially in the industry, a lot of these older men got away with that, because a lot of these female artists never really revealed their age, okay? And not only that, they always looked older than what they were. So nobody questioned back then Jay-Z being with Foxy, because, they looked like both young adults at the time, which it was a significant age difference. Foxy was probably only, 15, 16, and Jay-Z was well in his early 20s, like 24, 25, right? Same thing with Aaliyah. And he was definitely crushing on Aaliyah at one point in time. And him and Dame Dash was almost enemies behind this. Him and Aaliyah was very, very close. Very close. They had something going on, okay? Obviously, right? So he's always had a thing for young women, okay? Women younger than him, all right? And what young woman would not want to be with a star, would not want to be with a rapper, would not want to be with a millionaire? You get what I'm saying? I mean, being in that type of circle, and of course his homeboy Diddy, who he now claims they was never friends, but that's a subject for another day. But this been kind of going on, right? This is him and Foxy together. So yes, Jay-Z had his way with a lot of young women back then, okay? And like anything else, once he used them for what he needed them for, whether if it was, to boost his career, or rather for sexual pleasure, whatever needs he had for them, once he had them, he discarded them. Him and the Mill was supposed to be, really good friends when he put her on to Rock Nation, and as soon as she started flopping with album sales, he complained about her weight. He mentally abused her to the point to where she ended up falling off, and he got rid of her. He discarded her. Once he made one or two popping songs with her, he discarded her, and that's what Jay-Z does. The only one he really held on to was Beyonce, and that was only because Beyonce held on to him. No matter what Jay-Z did, she was determined to hang in there and be dedicated to him, and hope in the long run that it would benefit her. And in actuality, it did. I mean, they did end up married, and they did have beautiful children. But there is also more to this story that I'm going to also share with other people who also knew Jay-Z from around the way. So I'm going to play this small snippet of Choke No Joke, who knows Jay-Z pretty well, and he's speaking on some deep things. I'm not going to play everything, but again, this is for y'all to get clarity about Jay-Z's character.
But I believe personally that Jay is ducking that, because if it is true, then he has had a baby, even though the lady is no longer alive.
Do you know how she passed?
I think she has some type of health complications.
Okay.
So, but it wasn't a tragic, like she got killed or anything. like I said, all this first allegation is to get Jay's response and to tarnish his image publicly.
Yeah.
For everybody to jump out there and say, oh, that's not him. Then what they're going to do is they're going to Ramir, Rihanna, Foxy, they're going to attach him to R. Kelly, the Aaliyah. Even though Aaliyah was of age, they're going. It's the perception that, oh, he has a thing for young women, right? And one of these shits is going to stick.
Let me ask you this: the Tony Busby gentleman, the attorney, do you think he's working with someone else, that like a hidden hand, if you will? Because ideally, what you're expressing is that whoever was the force that took down Diddy could be the same energy that now take down Jay-Z, but right now it's being sparked off through the Tony Busby law firm. So could he be working with somebody else to do this? Because this is not light to come at Jay-Z.
No, them niggas sold a fucking soul to the devil, and the motherfuckers here with the receipt. You know what I'm saying? Their time has come, bro. Them motherfuckers been cock blocking niggas like me. Like, my shit ain't on the Breakfast Club right now, my interview, because of Jay-Z. You know what I'm saying? Because I was talking about Jay-Z. Them motherfuckers been blocking people for years from not being able to talk about. And now the motherfucking rabbit got the gun.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And Jay has been a person that has had his hand on people's career for years. You know what I'm saying? For decades. You know what I'm saying? And it's now his time to get the fuck out the way. A person that has had his hand on people's career for years. You know what I'm saying? For decades. You know what I'm saying? And then it's now his time to get the fuck out the way.
So that kind of leads me to go, like, I do think I don't know if he had to respond, but I do think a no response could have just always been the move, because now what's going to happen, he acknowledged it, and now it's going to be, like you said, he has entered the game, because, you know, they've said they got a reaction out of you. And then what I'm more so fearing, or just so anticipate, that it's going to just wake up all kind of stuff. And I'm hoping that if he's trying to be free, he was clean this whole time, since his career damn near began. Because someone is going to come up. Now the attention has been kind of like, you know, the waters has been riled up a bit. It's going to attract people to be like, well, I remember this time Jay-Z did this to me. I remember this time. It's going to wake up.
Just like Diddy got a floodgate of lawsuits, they get ready to come for Jay. But I guarantee you, by the time this shit airs, by next week from when this airs, there's going to be a bunch of goddamn people that's going to come out with lawsuits against Jay-Z. It's just that these people have been afraid, just like they've been afraid of Diddy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And now what's going to happen is, I'm telling you, the superseded indictment is going to have Jay-Z as a co-conspirator. They already got him there. If Diddy is going to jail for sex trafficking, if this person, this same 13-year-old person, if they pick up that shit as a criminal case, because what Jay think is, charge me criminally. He know the statute of limitations is up. But motherfucker, with the Mann Act, if they charge you federally and they attach you to Diddy and make you a co-conspirator of Diddy, then the statute of limitations are going to be opened up through the RICO and the Mann Act, and the same 13-year-old motherfucker that you talking about, yeah, charge me criminally on some cocky shit, they're going to be able to charge you criminally with.
And I'm going to leave it at that. So basically, I guess the statute of limitations has expired. But as the man stated, if they decide to charge this federally, then federally ain't no limitations. They can go as far as they want to go. So On that note, y'all, because there's a lot with this case, it's like digging into a rabbit hole. We'll be on here for hours, pretty much. But nevertheless, just wanted to basically make y'all be aware of that. No one should really be surprised if Jay-Z indeed has actually committed these type of offenses, because he does have a history of getting involved with younger women. But like I said, if it started during the project days when he was young and, you know, being born and raised in poverty, if he already started off doing that, having sexual relations with underage girls, you just don't grow out of that right away. And granted, he's a full-grown man now, he knows better. The thing is, sometimes even though you know better, it does not mean you don't have to answer to your deeds from the past. Sometimes we think because we're in a new space, we're making more money, and even though our mindset has changed, our maturity has changed, sometimes your past has a way of coming back to haunt you. And if Jay-Z indeed has did in a lot of people, sabotage people's careers, sabotage all type of deals, sabotaged a lot of people who entrusted in him, then this could very well be his karma coming to collect. But anyway, y'all, I've been getting calls left and right doing this blogging, so I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down. If I have to do a part 2, I'll do a part 2. Leave y'all comment below, let me know what y'all think. Go ahead and hit that like button, and I would gladly appreciate it. Y'all take care. Talk with you soon.